What's up, my nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. On this channel, I like to talk about bookish-related things and genres of science fiction, fantasy, short stories, non-fiction, horror, manga. If this is what you read, then you have found your home. Subscribe and click that like button, 'cause it helps me too. Oh, I'm so not right. Well, so if you stuck around after that intro, in today's episode of Bookish Fun, I'm going to give you my weekly reading wrap-up. So I didn't have a wrap-up last week, so we have 2 weeks worth of stuff to cover. I didn't want to post any videos in December without sporting my holiday gear. So unfortunately, I didn't think far enough in advance to dress for the occasion. So I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna throw up a book haul and then make sure I wear all of my fun Christmas gear. This is my Christmas llama sweater. It's one of my favorites. You might even see it make an appearance more than once. So how my wrap-ups work, I start with what I read, what I'm still reading, and then what's next on deck. Unfortunately, due to some problems, I haven't read any manga for the last couple of weeks. The short story is, the courier service my library uses delivered my Full Metal Alchemist volumes to the wrong house twice. They are supposedly en route to me. I look forward to them showing up any day so I can continue that buddy read with Una from the CodeX Cantina and Vish with Books with V. Both channels linked below. They are fantastic. Give them a watch. Books I finished in the last 2 weeks are The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. I binged this one in a 24-hour period. What made me decide to binge this book? Well, one, I have been dying to read it ever since I finished The Rage of Dragons. Once I got it in the mail, it's been tantalizing me on my TBR shelf. But what sent me over the edge was when I filmed the Rage of Dragons gush video with the World Hoppers, which went up on the World Hoppers channel last Wednesday. I'll put that in the cards. I'll also drop a link in the description box. And we thought it would be fun to do a Fires of Vengeance live stream. The only problem was there were a couple of us that hadn't read Fires of Vengeance. So I got done recording that and I was like, I'm just gonna binge it. I'm gonna take 24 hours and devote to this book. It is an insanely fast read. The momentum that Rage of Dragons left off with, Fires of Vengeance just picked up with and never stopped. There was never a lull in this book. I am going to do a dedicated review. I will have that up very soon. And I'll also let you know as soon as we decide when we're going to do the live stream for this one. The next book I finished is The Sword of Kai Gan by M.L. Wang. This was the Shelf Space book club pick for November. And wow, this book is amazing. It is probably one of my, okay, no, scratch that. It is my favorite standalone fantasy novel. It is so unique. There were so many interesting aspects about this book. Number one, the characters. Oh my word. I loved how M.L. Wang introduced and developed her characters. It was absolutely a work of art. To me, it was left open at the end for possibly future novels. I sincerely hope we get those. Right now, I don't think that is her plan. The world building was amazing. The magic system was definitely unique. I just enjoyed every aspect of this book. It is top notch. I literally haven't heard a single person who read it and didn't like it. I have a lot of friends who have completely opposite book opinions than I do, and they liked it. So that tells you something if a wide variety of people who usually have differing opinions all agree on something. I think there's just something that will appeal to every type of reader in this book, and this one will be reread many times in the years to come. So I also read a couple of short stories by Clarice Lispector. I read Family Ties and The Imitation of a Rose. Family Ties I read because the CodeX Cantina covered that on their channel, so I will link their video down below for you to check that out. If you're able to get your hands on a copy of the story, I would definitely say read that first, then watch their video and weigh in and see how your interpretation matches or differs from Una and Crypto. Her stories, while they may only be 10 pages long, they definitely are extremely thought-provoking. You don't stop thinking about it just because you finish the story. These actually just are best when you mull them over for several days, and I have actually thought one thing while reading it, thought about it for a few days, came up with a completely different interpretation from what I originally thought because there's just so much to think through. She's a fantastic short story writer. If you're into short stories, you will not go wrong picking up this collection. The next book that I read is actually an ARC that I received from author Eric LaRocca. This is A Bright Enchanted Suffering. It is a collection of 2 short stories that will be published, I believe, in March of 2021. He's a new to me author. I think he's fairly new to the scene, period, but it is short stories, so there's not a whole lot that I can tell you without revealing too much. So the first one I figured out pretty early. The second one, I feel like I should have figured it out, but I didn't. It was just it had a unique twist to it that threw me off. And then following along that indie author vein, I also read Juniper by Ross Jeffrey. I first heard about Juniper on Brad Proctor's channel, and Brad told me, he's like, I really want you to read this one because I want to hear what you think about the ending. I think he was a little disappointed because I figured out where it was going. But we did have a really good time talking about it. I binged this one in a day. It's a little novella, the one that I used to satisfy my stocking stuffer for the Reindeer Games readathon over on Shelf Space. But other than that, I would have binged it in a day otherwise. It was definitely interesting. It had some toe curling moments that kind of made me squint a little bit. But I will tell you, if you are a cat lover, don't read this book. Do not even... I don't care how interesting us reviewers make it sound. If you love cats, don't read it. Just don't do it. Trust me on that. That takes care of what I read. Let's talk about what I am still reading. I'm still working on Romantic Outlaws, which is about Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Shelley. I'm a little over halfway through. I've really slowed down reading it. Here's why. There's so much information to absorb. There's so much that I'm learning that I'm actually stopping to actually research other things. While the focus is Mary Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft, so many great authors and poets are also mentioned because they all interacted. And you just discover all of the things that were happening around them that just gave them the inspiration to write some of their most notable works. So I've started making a list of works that I want to read from all of the literary greats that are mentioned throughout the story. The history is so rich. It's so fascinating. It's so terrible. Oh man, but I'm here for it. I finally started book 2 in the Patience of a Dead Man trilogy, and that is Dead Woman Scorned by Michael Clark. Guys, you know, if you've been around for a minute, in October I read The Patience of a Dead Man, which is book 1. It became my benchmark for measuring all other horror to. I can't tell y'all how excited I am to finally dig into this one. So I am reading it with my friend Sharon and also Brad Proctor. So today was the day we started it. I got up early and read a little bit before I had to start my day. So I hope to get everything wrapped up really quick so I can get back into this one. I wouldn't be surprised if I binged it in one day. I will include a card for you for my review for the first book to see if maybe it is something you're interested in. And finally, I am still working on Rhythm of War. I have passed the halfway mark. I have encountered too many Sanderlanches. It's hard to stop reading it at this point. There's so many things happening with my different characters. I need to know what is going to shake out. And I'm getting nervous because, like I said, I'm over halfway done. Are some of these things even going to get resolved in this one? There have been a lot of really good things that I have learned. There have been so many questions answered from the previous 3 Stormlight books. Next time I check in with you, I do fully expect to have this one finished. Okay, That is what I read, what I'm reading. Let's talk about what I'm reading next. Once I finish Dead Woman Scorned, which will either be today or tomorrow, I plan to start Sinlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This is a series that has been highly recommended by Alan from the Library of Alexandria. Several other people in our Shelf Space book club have read it and also enjoyed it, so I am very excited to read it and see what I think about it. But I first heard about this series from Ramsey from his channel Rajathon, which I'll have linked down below for you. He mentioned it. I don't know if he's read all 3 books that are currently out. I think he has read the first 2. But in addition to having friends that love the book that endorse it, I also really was just attracted to the book covers. And then Alan kind of mentioned there was a little bit of a romance in this one, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's been a while since I read a romance. I can handle one of those in my life. And then finally, the CodeX Cantina and Christy Lewis are hosting a very Russian Christmas this month. They'll be reading several different Russian Christmas stories. I will link their announcement video down below. It has their schedule of what stories they're going to read on what day, and there will be coverage of the stories on both of their channels, which will be linked down below. The first one begins on December 7th, so if you guys want to take part, I am definitely looking forward to getting into the Christmas spirit by seeing what other country Christmas stories involve. So, alright guys, that wraps up what I have been doing in my reading life the last couple of weeks. And as captain of team Clark Griswold in the Reindeer Games Readathon over on Shelf Space, I've got some big reading goals for the month. So with that said, I'm going to pop off of here, go pick up a book, and get moving. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Click that little like button if you liked it. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.